Alright, so today we're going to replace the alternator on a 2010 Honda Crosstour. And be aware, I am not a professional mechanic. I am a do-it-yourselfer at home. So I figure a lot of this crap out on my own. First thing we need to do is remove this wiring harness. I believe that's a 12mm bolt. That out. I've got the top connector off. And I suppose while I'm dicking with this, I probably should disconnect the battery. Guess I was right with the 10 to begin with. Yep. Don't need an extension. There we go. Alright, back to the project. Now there's one more cord down here that needs to be disconnected. But you've got to get the connector. There's a connector that holds the wire for the air conditioning compressor to the back of the alternator, and then there's also another plug that goes into the air conditioning condenser that's hooked up to the same line that the alternator wires are run through. Alright. Now I just got to get this connector off here, the retainer on the back of the alternator. Got it. Alright. We got that off, we got that off, we got that off. Now, I need to remove the degas bottle. So now that we got all that off, now we have to remove this wiring harness right here. Now we've got that loose. Try and tuck that up out of the way. Okay, now we have our alternator exposed right here. Maybe it's a 12. Yep, 12mm socket. Now there's two bolts here. One's a longer one and one's a shorter one, so you got to make sure you keep them straight which one is which. I believe this is the shorter one. The longer one is back here, right here. And that one goes into the cylinder head. And I believe that's a longer a longer socket, or I mean a longer bolt. There's one. That's one screw. Now we gotta do the other one here. Nope, other way around. So the short one goes into the cylinder head. The long one goes in the other side. So, gotta remember that when you put it back together. Now we're at the alternator. So now I should be able to pry that alternator down with a thick enough wrench. So should be able to get this in there, pry this down. Now, if you can see, the other bolt for the alternator is right down here, right where my finger is. If you can see it down in there, right there, that's the other one. That's got to come out. And I believe that one is a 14, if I'm not mistaken. And it is. Okay, there, broke free. Now some guys do this where they degas the air conditioning system and they take this hose off, but I personally, as an at-home mechanic, don't have those kind of tools to do that. So for me, that's very uneconomical. And as you can see, there is no way to turn this thing to try and pull it out, but we have it off. So now I'm going to take this fan shroud off and pull the fan off. I got to take the shroud off underneath to get to the bottom bolts of it. And I got to pull these 3 screws out here, well actually 2, to get this fan out. And then I should be able to slide that up once I get the bottom bolts out that hold it on the bottom of the radiator. But I got to take the shroud off the bottom down here underneath the car. You can see. Okay, so as you can see, I got the top part of the fan loose. Now I need to get at the 2, there's 2 just like this on the bottom that hold this fan in, and then I can slide the fan out and make room to get the alternator out. Alright, so here's our new alternator. Exactly like the old one. We're going to slide it in exactly the same way the other one just came out. Go in here. Line your holes up at the bottom. I got the bolt here. We're going to slide this back in. And actually, I'm going to take and tap that inlet with a hammer just to get us a little bit of room in here to put this back in. So if you're looking at it here, you can see the spot where the alternator goes right here. You can see my hand down in there. Right here. There's this little shimmering that goes in there, and you just tap that a couple times with the hammer right on the edge, and it'll slide out a little bit and give you more room to put your alternator back in. So slide this back down in there. After we made our space. Slide my nut or my bolt back in. I got the bottom bolt back in. Now you don't want to tighten it all the way up. You want to snug it so that you can still move the alternator, because we got to put the bracket back in. Okay, so now we got to put this bracket back in. The bracket's got to go like this. This is what your electronics sit on top of. Make sure your alternator, when you tighten up that bottom bolt, you don't tighten it up too tight right away, because you need your alternator to move. So this bracket goes in like this. So we have to be able to pull the alternator up to meet. All right. So this is a 10 millimeter. We're going to tighten this up. All right. We're going to hook up the actual alternator nut. This again is a 12 millimeter. Doesn't have to be real tight, just snug. Put our boot back over that. Now we gotta hook up the rest of the things here. Our air conditioning condenser plug. All right, now we're going to put our radiator fan back in. Goes back in like this. It's up in here just like this. Now I've got to hook a bunch of stuff up. All the wiring that I took apart to get this out. Okay, so we've got everything back together. Got our fan in solid. All the connections are back. We got our alternator in. We got all the connections hooked up to that. Got our belt back on. And all that's taken care of. So now at this point, it's just time to test it and make sure our problem is solved. So before I started doing this, I had 11.4 volts coming out of the alternator. So I've got my voltmeter here. We're gonna check voltage and see what we got coming out of it now. Well, that's a good sign. We have no more battery light on the dash. It's telling me something's doing its job better than it was before. So now we'll test the alternator. Volts to the alternator and see what we're getting. 13.81. So it's definitely doing much better than it was before with the new alternator.